Welcome, sir.
Thanks for pulling the cart while I was under the weather, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was all these guys. But yeah, Coben, producer, writer. Dylan, producer, art director. Sean, director, editor. We got the whole crew here. Feeling good. Today's going to be a fun day. I think we might have an audio thing. Kevin, I don't know if you want to take a look at that. But yeah, today we're excited because today we're talking about inspiration, and we're talking about the things that have inspired us for both animation and story.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be a cool episode, I think.
We call it
episode. I don't know. We call these live stream. Webisode. We'll be answering questions at the end, so please feel free to leave questions or comment in the chat. If this is your first time hearing about the series, we'd like to read you the log line, and Coben does it better than anybody else. So, Coben?
He's the man.
The Axiom Chronicles is an animated sci-fi action-adventure series about a teen boy named Rick who is chosen by a cosmic power to save his people and the planet from an evil force of robots called the Mechno.
So stupid. All right, so
Did I do it, guys?
you did it. So
Wow.
when people ask us what is this like, you do like it's this meets this meets this, we typically say it's Prince of Egypt meets Star Wars meets The Matrix. That's kind of like the three most common, properties, I think.
Yeah.
That we can kind of compare it to.
succinct.
Yeah. So, but there's so much more. There's so many more things that we've been inspired by over the years, and so much to like these characters and just the the meaningfulness of the story. And we really want to kind of get into that today and share that with you to give you a deeper knowledge of the Axiom and kind of some of the why we did this and why it's meaningful to us. Specifically, this guy, he always says it's his love letter to Samurai Jack.
Yes, it is.
And so we'll talk about that a little bit. I know in a lot of the comments that we get on social media and people that see this, they always say, that's one of the very first comments that we see is like, oh my gosh, this looks a lot like Samurai Jack, and I'm really excited about it, which is exciting for us that people get that,
love it
right off the bat. So, it's also, we kind of talk about it's a collection of the things we've always wanted to see in a show. I think last week we hit a little bit on, Sean, you hit on this too. It's like, hey, there's episodes that we'll watch on TV of a certain series or this or that. And we're like, oh, we wish it did this or did that. And we're just kind of like, you know what? Coben said like in the past too, is like, let's just put all that effort into Axiom and take those ideas and put it. So that's also a big part of this, the inspiration on this in the show.
Yeah.
It's also the dream of creating something on our own, and I think for all of us, we can collectively say, that is the big dream for us, is to like say, this is a thing that we're creating together to, that's outside of client work. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of the cool thing that I'm excited about personally, because like this, while the client work has like kept us going all these years and we're so incredibly grateful for that, like this is a story that we get to tell. This is the journey that we get to go down together.
Honestly, like we don't have to answer to really anybody but ourselves in terms of like Angel, because it's like it almost becomes, what do we think is cool? Which is really really awesome.
And in addition to that, I mean, we get to hear from investors too, who are you guys. We love this. We love these efforts. Like, we'd love to see more of this. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
We'd love to hear input from you guys as the investors. Should we go down that road?
Right.
That would be amazing. Which leads me to say, go to angel.com/Axiom.
Hit it.
And hit that express interest.
Smash that thing.
Smash that express interest. Anyway, for right now, let's kick this whole thing off with the trailer. I don't know if we can we roll that?
I know what you're thinking. This doesn't look like it's going to end well. And you know what? You might be right. But I've been through a lot worse. Well, maybe not this bad, but still pretty bad. My name is Rake. As a baby, the Mechno Hive took me from my parents. I was raised in Power City by the cyborgs. They manipulated me into their own image, trained me as a weapon. They made me do terrible things. Eventually, I was ordered to gather organics to populate the Mechno Hive's labor camps. Everything changed when I watched a driver bot tear a baby from its mother's arms, and then turn its whip on her. Awakening a voice inside me I'd never heard before. That voice told me to defend them. All of them. In that moment, I broke every rule I was taught to obey. I knew the hive would come after me, so I ran. They hunted me, but I made it out. It's been a crazy ride to get to this point. I've made great friends, I found my family, and most importantly, I've been called to my true purpose. If you told the old me that it would be my job to free the organics and save the planet, I would have laughed in your face and probably arrested you. But now I know it has always been my fate.
We're just talking about as I was playing, like how long it felt to watch that trailer again. So yeah, it's cool. Always cool to see that play all the way through. As you guys can probably tell, we are extremely passionate about the Axiom Chronicles and would love to make the show a reality. But we cannot do that without your support. We have partnered with Angel Studios, and we are gauging interest in this project right now. So if this is a show that you would like to be made, please express interest by going to angel.com/Axiom. This will allow us to see if people are interested in helping us fund the show if we were to go open a crowdfund. Many films and series like The Chosen, The Wingfeather Saga, Sound of Freedom started this way. If we feel the time is right and the interest is there, then we'll open up a crowdfunding round where you can invest in the project and actually own equity and stock in the project. So express now and be the first one to know if we are open for a crowdfund, which hopefully will be soon.
Yeah, dude.
Fingers crossed. Here we go. We need you guys. We need you.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we can start diving into this thing.
Yeah.
First and foremost, last week we kind of asked a question of, what shows did you guys watch as a kid? And we didn't really get around to that because we got a lot of other really good questions. But
Sure, yeah.
maybe think about that as well, because we'd love to hear from you guys what shows you loved growing up. For us, we're definitely going to talk about that today.
Mm-hmm.
And not just TV shows, but movies that inspired us and all this stuff. So, and then same thing like toys you played with. Like, what were your favorite toys? I mean, obviously we're kind of into that here too.
A little bit. Just a little bit.
So yeah, let us know. Just maybe think about that a little bit and kind of go from there. So once we get to the question section. But for right now, let's talk about artwork and animation inspiration. And I'm going to hand this over to these guys, specifically Dylan, to talk about artwork probably first and foremost.
Yeah.
As a creator of Axiom and
Sure.
whatnot. So
Yeah, I mean, kind of like we hit last week a little bit. We were talking about Samurai Jack mostly. Obviously, like we said, we get a lot of that everywhere we went. What we're even hearing on our comments, and yeah, like I always say, it's my it started anyways. My love letter to Samurai Jack to the kind of early 2000s television and cartoons and stuff like that. The style, the action, and I mean even the like cinematography, which is weird to say, but I mean there's like legit call outs and little like moments in, again, a Cartoon Network kids show that was either inspired by some like very iconic like Kurosawa stuff like that. Like these are like very almost snobby pretentious directors.
I
was great clip
when we were
Good
talking
choice.
about inspiration today. Like I was funny because I was like, I even was thinking the way that we try to like move the camera is very like Dennis Villeneuve, which I'm like, do we sound pretentious?
Yeah, is that
But
ridiculous?
like, I think that there is a sense of like, just even what we try to accomplish in this animated series from the live action directors that we really, really respect and love.
Yeah.
So
And that, like, it just kind of shows like that mattered, that came across even to kids. Like they don't get it, or they get it. They're not too, it's not above them. Something you kind of champion a lot is like, treat your audience, treat your kids, they're smarter than you think they are. Some television where it just like,
well, I mean, the rules of composition are there. They weren't invented by a person, they were invented by nature, and you know what I mean. So composition is about keeping the eye moving. And even in a still picture or a photograph, your eye is moving, and a bad composition finds a corner for your eye to die in. And all these cats who made these great cartoons that we love, they went to art school. They had to study that stuff. And it shows. And they went to film school, and the difference between a moving picture and a still picture is just that it's moving. It still has to conform to the rules of composition. So I always, Samurai Jack is a master class in composition. In
agreed.
Visual composition.
Agreed. I'm on the list too. I mean, Ninja Turtles. I mean, all the various versions of it. They all bring something to the table.
And they fight robots too.
They fight robots. They had to make that show. I think you kind of hit that last time to make it work.
Kids.
Right. Maybe I don't know. Did they spawn that? No. There was Transformers. There were other things that were fighting robots long before the Turtles.
Oh, sure. I mean,
G.I. Joe's.
You can't shoot
other people.
Exactly.
On television in the 80s, you couldn't shoot people.
Right.
So, but you couldn't shoot robots because they weren't real.
That's right.
Which it also is an inspiration in
Big time.
something we talk about all the time. It's like, how can we get away with chopping people to bits?
Right.
Make them robots.
So, hey, do we have any Turtles clips?
I don't know if we
there?
do. Honestly,
but like specifically, so no turtle clips, but specifically Rise. If you guys have a chance to check out Turtle Rise, which is on, I believe it's on Netflix, but the movie's on Netflix.
New movie. I think the first season. Pretty sure.
For sure. Too, but that's
really
was essentially produced by Andy Serrano, right?
Yeah, sure. Who is a guy who worked on Samurai Jack and Clone Wars, and it's funny whether you know these names or not. A lot of times, I mean, for us, we are drawn to the work they do because it's awesome.
And there's like a paper trail. You can see like, of course he's in that, or of course so and so did this. You can see the movement, or you can see their character design, or things like that.
Well, and the guy who storyboarded all of Samurai Jack, well, most of Samurai Jack, namely, he was in charge of really storyboarding the sword fighting. But he went on to storyboard Iron Man and all of the Marvel movies up to a certain point. And it's funny for me, I'm so familiar with watching what he did with Samurai Jack that I look at the Marvel fights and go, that's so him.
Yeah.
There's certain things that are just so like I could see Jack doing that.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
For me, I think like Samurai Jack and Star Wars Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Which I think we do have some clips of that.
Yeah.
If we can roll some of those clips, it's amazing. It's not. That's the.
This is the fight we always
talk about the specific fight. Yeah. And this was on Cartoon Network early 2003.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, this is kind of this particular show and Samurai Jack are the two ones that are near and dear to me personally because it connects me to all three of these guys.
Sure.
In various ways. Like when I first met Sean, his dream was to do something like Genny Tartakovsky show, which is Samurai Jack and Star Wars Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And then I met this guy, and I found out that his brother Paul was an artist on Clone Wars and Samurai Jack. And they drew these characters, and and then I met this guy, and like I saw his artwork,
grew up on it,
and he grew up on it, and he was like basically emulating a lot of these styles on his own, and made it his own though too, which is really cool. Like taking inspiration from Paul and from Gandhi and from all these different inspirations and creating his own version of that, which in a lot of ways is Axiom Chronicles. You know? So we will unabashedly
100%.
It's very inspired by those.
I personally have always found inspiration in this idea that I met this kid. You were a kid then. You're not now. But I met this kid, and I'm looking at his drawings, and I'm like talking, what's your favorite shows and blah blah. And he's naming all these shows that my brother drew. And I'm like, well, I'm not the draftsman that he is, my brother, nor am I the draftsman that you are. But I feel a connection to those things, And so when we started to talk about what could Axiom be and what should it look like and how can we, it just became, for me personally, it just became a comfort zone. Like, I've already been in artistically, I've been in the peripheral of this world for a long time, and so Dylan's even like, do you think it's lame if we go hard and try to bite some of these styles? I said, no, it's beautiful, it's wonderful. I mean, it's a natural progression of all things. Everyone is influenced by the thing before them, and then that shows in their work, and that. I'm not going to stop you.
No, and the hope is you can elevate and you can work and, like you said, bring something a little bit new to it. Obviously,
which I think, 1,000%.
Yeah, and that's the goal. That is the true goal of as far as the art goes with this.
And I think it's cool because we're also, I say we're, apparently you guys are pulling from other inspirations, like more recent inspirations, like Kung Fu Panda. I think we have an example of that.
There's some great action in that.
Like the action in that, the backgrounds. I remember specifically the backgrounds in that dream sequence from is it the third or the second one?
I think it's the dream sequence of the first one is super stylized. It looks very Axiom in the colors, and then there's like the third one that you're thinking of, I think.
With the bull, right?
Yeah, the bull. And it has all the backgrounds wild, and like they're in another realm, and everything's floating, and it's amazing.
And I think just the vibrancy of the color. I remember us having a conversation because we had kind of established this look that was definitely more muted and neutral colors. The palette was definitely more neutral, and then this second pass at it, this vibrancy came out, and it was like we all agreed this is.
I mean, I think it was the Kung Fu Panda art book that really pushed you to get more colorful.
And then of course into the Spider-Verse.
Dude, then they hit it to 11.
Way down. Way up.
On top of.
If there's any clips of that, we should show that because I mean, I think for all of us here, that was such a just a jaw-dropping experience just to go to that film and be like, what is this? What are they doing?
It definitely proved animation can be something way more than just silly cartoons.
Definitely,
it was a champion in that
for the American audience, specifically because in a lot of other Europe, Japan, a lot of other countries, they've never not thought it to be an art form and or a viable art form or something that's not just for kids.
I mean, and I think when we get to story on this thing too, Spider-Verse is so powerful because it's such a good story.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And it just pulls you in, and I don't know. I think for me, it's both and for that as well. I mean, obviously there's other shows as well. Samurai Jack and Clone Wars are also amazing stories.
I think with before Spider-Verse, and not that there weren't like little nuggets before that, but it was very much when it came to 3D, it was almost trying to get to as realistic as you possibly could get. Yeah. But then Spider-Verse came out, and it was this mixture of like
get real graphic,
get real graphic, but real at the exact same time. And there was this amazing mixture, and I think it kind of made everybody like kind of stop and be like, wait, what? Because and you can see the ripples, even in like
the new Turtles,
in the new Turtles, but even like the cat.
Puss in Boots.
Puss in Boots. Like, you just completely see these ripple effects that this amazing movie had, and will probably continue to have in the next few years. And I think we definitely were completely inspired by Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah, not just even in visuals storytelling, but just storytelling in general.
Character work.
It was amazing.
I mean, what I love about like all these movies is that like I'd be able to expose my kids to this stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
That's a shameless call out to my kids too, by the way. So I tell them I call out.
Hi, bowling kids.
Bowling kids. There's a good point here. I think like, like showing my kids these awesome cartoons that have not just amazing like artwork and animation, but story too. I think that's really, really cool.
I was, you were out of town while we were talking just about tonight and stuff, and I was telling the guys I had watched a trailer for like 4 or 5 upcoming animated shows that were coming out on Netflix recently. None of them are geared towards kids. They are all just absolutely bloody and gory, and like it's crazy. They're all animated. All animated, and it's just like there is nothing in terms of like epic storytelling that I feel comfortable sitting around the TV with my children and watching.
For a show,
for a show.
These movies,
these movies are great, but like as an animated series, it's crazy. Like you really have to like, but like I was like, oh man, like these animated shows look really cool, and like I want to watch them, but I'm not gonna let my kids watch them. It's crazy. But the Axiom Chronicles is one of those shows.
Well, remember this afternoon we were talking about Transformers Beast Wars and Transformers Beast Machines, and they were at the very fledgling stages of 3D animation. Yeah. And looking back at them now, you look at the animation and you think, oh, it's awful. But the story. No disk mainframe. You guys were pioneers. Yeah. But what held those shows together were the stories. Yeah. And I watched. Those came out. I was already an adult, and I'm admittedly a Transformers super fan. Yeah. So I watched those as an adult, and there were these themes in those stories that were way above a 9-year-old's head. Yeah. But it didn't matter. Yeah. And it was subject matter that should be and it should be presented to children, even if they don't get it literally. Yep. They're concepts that they can wrap their heads around. Yeah. And I think that's one thing I personally, in the story of Axiom, I think we all agree on this, that we want to put themes in there that they're not so heavy that a kid's just going to shut down. Right. But they're heady enough to where when the show's over, maybe they're going to think about that. Yeah. They're going to think about, how Rake dealt with this situation and how his world is affected by his decisions. And
I think like repeat viewing, like that's how I as a viewer always kind of like scale the things that I like. If I watch something, I'm like, it was good, but I'll never watch it again. Do I really like that thing? Sure. Like the things that I truly love are the things that I will watch over and over and over, and then see something that I didn't see the first time.
Right.
Like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, especially when you watch the extended versions.
Yeah. The only way to watch.
The only way to watch. There are so many things that you're just like, I didn't notice that the first time. Just that little, even if it's like something with a character or for something with an action, there's just always do things to pick up. And I think we have always kind of been in that mindset of like, we want the Axiom Chronicles to be that thing that you watch once through, but you come back and you watch it again and you see things that you didn't see the first time.
I wasn't here last week, but I was watching, and the very last question that came in was exactly that. Like, what are you going to do to make Axiom the legacy of Axiom? And I will say I was at home like, ooh, I want to answer that. Come on. But I think you just did, Sean. That's what, when we talk about this, like, what are little seeds we can leave in here that people might not notice the first time, but on the second time they'll pick up on it. Or, Rake may come to a conclusion about a situation, and in the moment you're taking it for granted because it's just time. But when you go back, you can see that different things affected him in a way to get him there.
Yeah.
And we're being very careful to plant those kinds of things in here so that if you do watch it again, there's good reason, you're getting something new that you didn't get the first time. So.
That's awesome.
Good answer, Sean.
Dude, man, that was beautiful.
We can keep talking about more inspirations. I mean, I think another thing we bring up a lot is Tron.
Sure.
Yeah.
The various versions of it.
Versions of it, specifically the animated one.
The animated series is amazing.
It's very cool. That one was really cool too.
I think a lot of these are good examples. I mean, Axiom is about man versus machine.
Yeah.
It's about nature versus mechanical, and Tron is that. A lot of the Matrix is kind of that. That I'm drawing a blank at the moment, but we had a good list of Princess Mononoke.
Yeah,
Princess
Mononoke was an amazing one that you came up with. That I was like,
cold.
geez, that's so great.
But that story is about the overtaking of the natural world, the spiritual world, by the ambition of man. And this. Nature that's our story too.
Yeah, nature
a little
kind
bit,
of fighting back a little bit.
Yeah.
I think we'd be
gush.
Thrilled to tell that story if
you went to angels.com/Axiom and you expressed interest. If you're interested in hearing an epic tale about man versus machine, about nature versus mechanics,
robots,
smash that express interest button.
Do it now.
That's right.
Okay, so anything else you want to talk about in art?
Yeah, I mean, those are definitely the big pillars.
I think. I love the comments of this reminds me of Samurai Jack, and I hope that those people are. It's not trolling, but I think that the thing
legitimately happy.
Yeah, I think that
seriously, I read every comment.
I think the thing that I love is it's bridging that gap of not being just a complete and utter copy and just being inspired by it, which I think is
it's important.
Yeah, which is what I think every great artist wants. Like they want their art to inspire people, and I think as Gendy Tartakovsky and Paul Rudish, I think that they've inspired a generation of young artists to emulate but go beyond what they did, and I think Dylan has definitely accomplished that. I don't look at this. I don't look at Rake and be like, that just looks like Samurai Jack, but a thinner version. But like I think it's just he's taken what these guys have done and he's been inspired by it, which I think is every artist's dream.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
All right.
Yeah.
And segue into
story.
So some of the pillars that we built this on is having real good guys and real bad guys.
Yeah.
And I think that for us telling that hero's journey, like The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings,
my
Star
favorite.
Wars, and then You got to say it because I was like,
With Thundercats?
Thundercats.
Yeah.
Which I'm like,
Well,
we put that
you
in
know-
that list, which is amazing. I love that.
I was specifically thinking about stories about chosen ones.
Yeah.
That or fated ones, who, whether they know it or not, are their destiny, their role is to save the day, is to save the world.
Yeah.
And I was thinking back to what shows really, inspired me when I was a kid, and Thundercats was one of them. Lion-O is a reluctant kid in the beginning, but then he's given this power, and he's the only one who can handle the power, and he succeeds.
Which is, I mean, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, you're totally right.
It's true. Yeah.
Which, honestly,
it's obscure.
This is what makes you such a great creator, Coben, is the fact that you're able to pull from these
obscurities,
but connect the pieces and say, like, even today I was thinking about Indiana Jones, and I was like, throwing out there, I was like, yeah, because we have the scene and where he does like an homage to like the idol switch, and you're like, yeah. But also, it's a story about the Nazis, and I don't know. I think they're bringing all these parallels, and I'm like,
it's the most evil thing Earth has ever seen. The Nazis traveling around trying to gather up all these spiritual relics to use them for their evil will. I mean, the Mechno-Hive is trying to gather up. Right? I didn't even think of that. I love it. You know what I mean? But some of these inspirations are so like subconscious sometimes. And it's. But they're the crazy thing is that they're themes that have been around for forever. And everybody turns to them. Star Wars is we all know now that George Lucas pulled from all these classic tales. He even pulled from Lord of the Rings. And there's no crime in that. There's no harm in that. Because they're beautiful stories about beautiful heroes, and they resonate with us because they inspire us all. They don't just inspire the creators and the artists, but they inspire the viewers and the readers. So,
And I going back to like the hero's journey, like with Axiom from the get-go, it's kind of always been this sweeping epic, right?
It's never
hasn't been this
small
monster of the week kind of a thing.
No.
We have stories like that. By the way, but not this one. This one is it's an epic story, and I think again, it's about exposing our kids to that and exposing our kids to the long play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And season 1 is a story in and of itself, and it's all buttoned up. But there's more to that story. There's 3 seasons at least on this thing, and so which. Go to
go ahead
Axiom or angel.com/Axiom to
express interest.
Get
that ball rolling.
Get
that ball rolling.
But we also want to talk about the bad guys. I think we have to talk about the bad guys. Because there's no hero without.
It's I was thinking about it, and the hero stuff. I feel like it kind of just comes easy. It comes natural. We all have our expectations of a hero, and that's fine. But what makes the hero's journey incredible is unbeatable odds. I've spent a lot of time thinking about the Mechno-Hive and why do they do what they do, and how do they do it? And on the surface it's easy to compare these two because the Mechno-Hive is a hive mind. They are millions, but they are one. And of course, I'm a huge Star Trek Next Generation fan, and everybody knows who the Borg are.
Man.
But the Matrix is the same kind of bad guy. It's the same
odds as well.
And it's that you fight them and they never stop coming. There's always more. There's always more, and they all have one singular objective. And so whenever I'm thinking about the Mechno-Hive, I'm thinking about Matrix, and I'm thinking about Alien, the brood of xenomorphs, and Battlestar Galactica is a huge one. More so the reboot of Battlestar Galactica, where the machines are indistinguishable from us. And I mean, the Mechno-Hive is distinguishable. But just this idea again of an artificial life form trying their hardest to be what their creators were.
Yeah.
And but then ultimately failing because they take it too far.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
that's
what's
where they
what's
lack
always
something.
great about a villain that's like evil and almost like pure evil is there's that small percentage that like their plan and like their ultimate goal kind of makes sense to you.
Yeah.
Like
That's a
Thanos.
good one.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say
like
Thanos.
Thanos is like you kind of like listen to him and you're kind of like
That's horrible. What
that's
you're
horrible,
doing
but it
is-
kind of makes sense. Like you should probably eliminate half of the population of the universe so everybody else can like eat and be okay.
Flourish.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's always that sense that like making them evil, but kind of making their plan somewhat make sense, but it's still very evil.
Yeah, so twisted.
Yeah, it's still very twisted, and like you should probably put a stop to it. But
Yeah.
like it kind of like the Joker in The Dark Knight, you're like, man, you should maybe bring a little bit of anarchy to Gotham. Like that sounds like a great idea. Like that's like, sort of thing. Like everybody seems so like, buttoned up,
Complacent.
But, yeah,
Shake it up.
But,
Yeah.
but Thanos, he was like, that's what I loved about that guy, and that's
Yeah.
what like the Marvel leading up to him was when he was kind of like he felt so educated and felt so like I know what I'm talking about that you kind of there's a moment in Infinity Wars and Endgame where you're like yeah. Oh wait, no, like no, that's bad.
Yeah. There's a cool theme hidden in there too, is that like the Borg are the same way.
Yeah.
Individuality is a weakness.
Yeah.
And Rake, he doesn't even actually know who he is yet.
Yeah.
And he is an individual, and he's going to find that out. He's going to find out who he is and what makes him unique and special, just like everybody else is unique and special.
Yeah, he's going from being told what he is to the open expanse of, gets out of what his situation is with the Hive in the very beginning. I always love saying this, where we kind of start him. Our commentary on the anti-hero. He kind of starts out as that anti-hero, and then gets quickly jettisoned out of that life.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever comes after him, it's up to him now, like you're saying, to figure out, okay, well, what do I do now? I've never been here before. I've literally never been in the robotic lands this far out anyways.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do? And
I've never been free before.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's always, as a character story for Rake anyways. That's always a really fun thing to play with and explore, because you're kind of, as the audience, you get to explore this world with the main character. It's not like he knows what's going on either. So that's always, for me, when I come into a movie or a TV series and you're watching, like Spider-Verse, for example, like Miles Morales, he starts out as a failure, and the whole movie he's just trying to be Spider-Man. And he fails, and he fails, and he fails, and he fails. And the very last part, when he does it, he shows everyone that he can be Spider-Man, a hero. And like that's why that story is so good. Yeah. And like that's what I want, with Rake. That is the same goal. We got to do that with Rake. We got to go through the trials that he's going to face.
And if you'd like to see Rake go through these trials,
there it is.
Go to angel.com/Axiom and please express interest.
That's right.
If this sounds interesting to you.
Yeah.
Wonderful transfer. We talked about Prince of Egypt parallels last week. It's pretty obvious, I think. With, a lot of people, I think on social media too, were like, "Yes, this is."
We see it.
This is Moses with robots.
Yeah.
So yeah,
which is a cool, whatever.
100%.
Interesting hook to me.
Again, I am not going to shy away from like comparisons with Prince of Egypt, because
that movie's
amazing.
Well, I think that there's something a little bit more interesting than like a hero's journey where it's like you're the one, and then it's like I totally am the one, and then you go on from there. Like I think that there's like the reluctant hero that's way more interesting in terms of like Moses being like no
terrifying.
like, this sounds like an awful idea. But even like Dune,
sure,
and even the Matrix, like you have these people who are like you're
like you're the one.
Yeah, you're it. And they're like, no, I'm not. Which, like, to me, like, just makes it all that more relatable to kids and even people watching, where you have this task that seems so, like, impossible to achieve, but finding it within yourself to do that thing and overcome fears and just your, you know, your reluctancy to do it, to do what is right, even if it seems like completely impossible.
I feel like that kind of hero is the realistic hero too.
Yes.
I don't think there's many people who are like, I'm just going to do that. Jump right into this.
No,
I'm going to go and do this.
Heroes are always born of horrific situations.
Yeah, sure.
They're never
thrown into something terrible.
It's just the right person has the right heart to do the right thing.
I mean, as much as I love Star Wars and I love Luke Skywalker, but I feel like there was always a sense of like he wanted to be that. Like he wanted to be a Jedi. Like he was wanting to leave Uncle Owen's and go get power converters and, like, and stuff like that. But like to feel that sense of like, dude, you're it, and for that hero to be like, no, but still overcome that and go do it, I feel like is more relatable and is like, I think kids can see themselves more in that.
I'll 100% guarantee you that most of these stories of chosen, reluctant yet chosen heroes, whoever wrote those totally read the Moses story.
Oh, for sure.
Or turned to it for inspiration.
At least.
For sure.
At least.
I mean, I have a whole list of other cartoons and movies that and a lot of these we've named over this, this session so far. But, I think for us also, the 80s cartoons almost always ended with like this is what this episode was about. And
knowing's half the battle.
That's right, folks.
Axiom Chronicles won't do that, but but there will be some strong values that will be very apparent, and
we're gonna weave those into the story.
We
don't need to. We're not gonna at the end remind kids not to play with electrical cables.
Although maybe we should. I don't know.
But
leave your comments in the.
Would you like PSAs at the end of each episode? If so, go to angel.com/Axiom.
So these are the shows, these are the movies that formed who we are. Or, the list is on here, like Star Wars and Tron and Terminator, Flash Gordon, Dark Crystal, Star Trek, Dune, Indiana Jones. That's just a very, very, very short list, but those ones specifically kind of, lean into this concept. You had Thundar the Barbarian, which I love.
That was more of a style
Galaxy
thing.
Ranger,
That was more so than story. That was
But
style.
still,
just that simplistic 2D style that I think I can speak honestly that many of the things in Samurai Jack were inspired by the same
1000%.
ideas of old Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Like the Herculoids.
Exactly.
One of my faves. I want to push for sure Avatar: Last Airbender as well.
Oh, dude.
We were kind of talking earlier in the office. That cartoon is, I think, a wonderful example of how successful a huge story, a huge epic, as we like to say, can be for kids, can be endearing. You can watch it for, I think it's 3 seasons, I believe, and it's a sprawling and spin-offs. But this sprawling story that it's no monster of the week. It is, you see the trials, you see the tribulations, you see the character growth, you see, them start out as one thing and end up, an entirely different thing, and that's both heroes and villains in that show. And that's something 100% we have in Axiom.
It's an epic scale of the show in terms of this is who this person is, but this is the growth that you need to become to actually become the Avatar. Right. It's one of the first shows, and Nickelodeon, for them to take a chance on something like that, when it's not in their wheelhouse, was crazy.
Yeah.
I think it came out of nowhere, and I think it surprised everybody. And now, like, obviously they're doing movies and like,
They have a whole- yeah, right,
like,
right.
It's insane to me. And I that, like, when we talk about Axiom, Avatar is definitely like always there because of the scale of like, it isn't just like the monster of the week or the bad guy of the week. There is this big story that we are trying to tell, and yes, there'll be like little episodes like that, fun. But I think in terms of like growth and Rake figuring out who he is and who he needs to be and what that journey looks like, I don't think that there's any better like representation other than Avatar. Right. Like, it's an amazing example.
I think, at least in a kid's cartoon, because I mean, Lord of the Rings is another huge thing we all love. It is that as well. It is that huge.
But it is not a kid's cartoon.
It is not a kid's cartoon.
No.
But the thing that I love about Avatar is that they did it. They took a chance. They said kids can do this. Kids can stick it out. They can pay attention. They can watch this and follow along from episode to episode. And actually do this.
And you mentioned Dragon Ball Z too.
Dragon Ball Z is a huge one.
Yeah.
That one's a little less. It's epic. It's an amazing story as well, but it is, it's a lot of screaming and powering up.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced.
Which is going to be in our show too.
Yeah.
If you go to
Screaming and powering up
/Axiom.
But I think even Aang, just going back to Avatar, just like doubting himself.
Yeah, he's a reluctant hero.
Like,
for sure.
Completely a reluctant hero, which like I am always a proponent of. Like, I just think that there's something way more relatable to that, because I think that there are probably, I think it's a very specific personality type. Yeah. I think there are very few people that would just jump into that and not have reluctancy, but I feel like a vast majority of people, when they're called to a greater task, would probably take pause and think like,
I'm afraid.
can I do this? Like,
I am afraid.
Which I think is very relatable. And and Rake is that. Like, I mean, he is just trying to find out who he is. Like, he's lost. I think in one moment he thinks he knows who he is.
Yeah, in the beginning
and he's shown really what he's been doing and what the Mechnohive is, and he really doesn't want a part of it. But then, what is he left with?
Yeah, how do you leave a hive mind of robots that are going to kill you if you try?
Even if you find out that it's completely wrong, how do you leave what you've always known?
Sure.
And start your own journey, and what does that look like? So, like, I really love discovering Rake's journey with him, like as an audience member.
Right.
Which is
you walk alongside him.
Which is always like what you want as a viewer.
Yeah.
Is you want to be along for the ride. You want to be discovering things with your hero. Like, yes, this is good. This is bad. I don't know how I feel about this.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
I think you're about to be like, I don't really see the Dragon Ball Z thing.
No. What I was going to say about Dragon Ball Z is, whereas Avatar, I feel like they had from the beginning, they had an end game.
Yeah.
They had an end in sight.
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z. I'm not
convinced
Dragon Ball Z. It's like, we'll figure it out when we get there.
The one thing for Dragon Ball Z, I will say, it's all about bettering yourself, training, and getting to a higher level.
That's good.
In a very condensed way of putting it, and that's something that, as a kid, when I watched it, I was like, if I work at it, if I train.
I love that.
If I train like Goku, I could do this too.
If I draw all day,
literally
make a cartoon.
That's what I thought. I was like, in my version of training, I'm gonna draw every day.
So it may not have inspired our show directly, but it inspired you.
Yeah,
I just imagine
inspiration.
little Dylan out in
I definitely played Dragon Ball Z. Yes, I charged
out
up
in his
rural
yard.
Nebraska. People on the highway saw me.
I mean, make that dream a reality by
Yes.
going to Axiom.com, angel.com/Axiom, express interest.
Do it now.
And help Dylan live his childhood dream.
Yeah, that's right.
Help Dylan become Goku.
Yeah.
Please become Goku.
It's 7:50. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, we gotta wrap this
hit
up.
it? Yeah.
So let's throw out any questions you may have.
Does anybody listening or
Also, anybody feel free
Mom,
to
any questions?
throw out what your favorite shows were as a
Yes.
kid.
Oh, look at this.
Carlos.
Looking good.
Oh,
Will.
Environment later.
Tundra's caving.
Oh, yes. Well, I can only see half.
There we go. There's a question.
Season
There's a
swamps.
question.
Yes.
Oh,
Dude.
Yes.
you have no idea, Carlos.
Can we talk about the state of
Dude, just talk
Zeden?
about it. I
We
mean,
kind
just
of hit on it, the whole video game aspect. Remember?
We
Yeah.
did, the first one. But Zeden was once a whole planet, and then when the Mechnohive took it over, they ravaged it of all of its natural resources, causing the planet to crack into pieces.
Literally fractured.
But the Mechnohive didn't want those pieces to go away because those pieces contained more pieces of the Axiom crystal. So they mechanically tethered these huge chunks of planet together, and at the center is this mechanical core that holds these tethers that hold Zeden together. And on each of those nodes, as we call them, the planetary nodes, is a different ecosystem. And here's just a little teaser of one of them we call the Jungle Zone. And of course the Mechnohive, being the intelligent entity that it is, they custom tailor their drones to exist in these different biospheres.
They're adaptable.
So
they adapt
quickly.
quickly.
They adapt quickly to these different places.
A nice picture of what Zeden started as with the whole Axiom before it was destroyed.
Yeah. So we don't spend our entire life.
Our story.
Our entire story does not take place in the desert.
No,
we will move on eventually.
Yeah.
But we have to get through season 1 first, and we can't do that without your guys' help.
Yeah.
Man,
So,
this guy's becoming
please
a plug master.
to,
I love it.
Angel.com/Axiom and express interest.
Here we go. There it is.
There's our folks.
Look at those guys.
Yeah, express some interest.
There it is. Beautiful.
Good stuff. All right, what's another one?
Oh.
Utilize cyborgs. Clearly, Rake has demonstrated a potential flaw in this plan. Yeah.
So why does Mechnohive utilize cyborgs? Well, they utilize all of the organics as their laborers. And the cyborg class struck a different deal. They're a group of organics who struck a different deal with the Mechnohive. They serve as the police force that oversees the organics. The Mechnohive seems to see some advantage to patrolling the organics in their prison camps by using relatable organic-based officers. They also, the organics as a whole, they just want to survive. They're trying to survive. And some people will do whatever they can to survive. And some of them will even give up an arm or a leg to survive. And I'm sure the Mechnohive has promised them an ounce of power in that.
And quote unquote freedom.
Freedom.
Freedom's a big part of it.
So that's part of it, definitely.
There's a bigger, grandiose reason as well that's very tied into like the deep history of the lore of this great war that happens of certain characters. I won't go into them.
Don't say who.
I won't say who,
but say what.
The cyborgs are a bit of an echo of what they are, and they are almost a second chance for the Hive to try to do something pretty devious. That they once tried. They had the hubris once that they've fallen from. And the cyborgs are kind of the second chance at that.
Yeah, but the Mechnohive, their one of their highest directives is to be organic, is to be, for lack of a better term, human, because I don't know if our people are humans. They're human shaped, but they're from other planets. But they're humanoid. And the cyborgs represent an experiment in can we inhabit these organics but still enforce our own will.
Right.
So
one kryptonite that the Mechnohive has, they hunt the Axiom. They need the Axiom. It is a power source that is unlike any other on this planet. but they cannot touch it.
Ooh,
They were created by the Axiom.
I love that.
Oh, there
I
it is.
love
Look
that.
at that.
I love that.
But yeah, they can't touch the Axiom, and organics can. They have no qualms handling this crystal that was organic itself.
Yeah, that's the most basic. It's like a cornerstone of our story. Is
Yeah.
that
It's why they keep the organics around.
yeah, because organics can handle the Axiom crystals, and the Mechnohive cannot.
Yeah.
It will zap them and fry them and
It's too
short circuit them.
powerful.
Yeah.
They have to process it. They have to distill its power for them to use. But its raw form yet is too powerful for any circuitry, anything like that.
Scotty wasn't ready for that answer.
Yeah. What's up, Scotty?
Did we even answer that?
I think we kind of did.
I came out real
Any other
aggressive. Sorry,
questions
Scotty.
here? We probably got time for a couple more.
All right, Kevin.
I love the world building. Examples you guys named. What makes an interesting but realistic world? And your favorite shows, and how are you going to?
Oh, so small. Just so
Yeah.
small.
Read it out loud, will you?
Yeah.
Oh, it's even smaller there.
Yeah, it's hard to
Love
read
the
this
world
one.
building.
There
we
it
go.
is. There it is.
Examples like his name.
Realistic world and your favorite shows. How are you going to do that with Axiom? There are some things in a aesthetic sense with just a world building, just in world building, I should say, like the everyday life, seeing evidence of our organics, things like that. Like, what do they drink? What do they eat? We even had a question, I think the first or second, or maybe it was a comment, something like that. But it was something dealing with food. And I was like, yeah, that is a basic thing, that we all have to deal with. And it's something that, that we do every day. That's something I feel like in world building, you having these little that seem minute details, like what kind of food do they eat on Zed in Axiom? What are that? One example is just that is
Carpathian husk beetles.
that's right.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know the answer. and then the cyborg class, they eat nutrition pucks.
Getting up every day and taking a shower, like our first episode. Like we have this scene where Rick is
Like morning routine.
his
right?
morning routine where
He's
he's
sanitized.
he's a teenager and like he's not really wanting to get up out of bed. I feel like that's relatable, especially as a parent trying to get your kids up out of bed to start the day. Like it's sin waking up Rick for his day. But I also think like in life, this is whatever, but we're always kind of presented with things that maybe we don't necessarily want to do, but it's the right choice. And I think that those themes are definitely in the Axiom. I feel like Rake is going to be presented with a whole husk of things that he maybe doesn't feel like he is equipped or feel like he can't do, but he knows that it's the right choice.
Sure.
And I think that like in life, that's what we're constantly like presented with, is like maybe this you don't feel equipped to do this, maybe you don't feel like you are adequate in this, but are you going to make the right choice? And it obviously it's not taking down a whole horde of Mechnohive robots.
We can't
but
to that, but
in your own life, like it's gonna seem like it's taking down a whole horde of Mechnohive robots.
What is that to you? What is your Mechnohive in life?
Yeah.
Ooh, look at that.
Oh man.
Therapy.
We're just getting down to the nitty gritty.
Do we have any more questions? I think we probably have time for like one or two more.
Maybe. It's all right. Knock my water bottle over. Yeah, maybe not.
I'm still pondering.
It might be on the bottom.
Really good one.
Are we cut off to where we can't?
Oh,
Oh, here it is.
We have a TikTok channel. Totally should. Yes.
Yeah, we do.
In fact, we
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
I begrudgingly started one and then quickly thank you to the folks at Angel who took it from me. I didn't know what I was doing. I was in over my head. It got on top of me.
It was the hero's journey of what is right and wrong.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, we do have a TikTok channel.
I believe it's just Angel underscore or Angel dash Chronicles.
You mean Axiom?
No,
it's not.
yeah, I was like, it's definitely not Angel, but Axiom.
I have been messing that up all night tonight. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Axiom underscore Chronicles?
I think that or Axiom dot.
It's dot Chronicles. That's what it is. Axiom dot Chronicles. Yes, we have a TikTok channel.
Lindsay, you
We
should
just
check
don't know
that
what it is.
out. Just look up Axiom Chronicles, and it'll come up.
Yeah, absolutely.
We also have Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah,
That's right.
it's true. It's true.
Yep.
And you can find Luke on LinkedIn. No.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, we got to wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
And we hope that you'll be a part of this project. Remember, you can go to angel.com/action. I got it this time.
We did
To
it.
express interest. Be sure to be caught up on all the latest project updates by following us on the socials. You can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
TikTok as well, folks.
Yep.
Thanks to Dylan and Angel. Along with expressing interest, if you are excited about this show, please spread the word by sharing it with your friends and family and reposting yourself on social media. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Should we talk about maybe next week? Like what we're
We're going to
hopefully
take a break, I think, from doing live streams for a little bit.
the next episode, hopefully.
Yeah.
That I guess
Whenever that is.
whenever that is.
Yeah.
Like we'll probably have some voice cast.
Yeah.
Is kind of what we're hoping to do.
Yeah.
Which will be
If
really, really, really
everything
cool.
lines up
Yeah.
for schedules and all. That's the hope.
If the stars align.
Yeah, there we go.
If the stars align, it'll be an evening of the stars.
Oh.
Wow.
Look at you.
All right,
Look at
guys.
you.
So good.
Good night.
See you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
I know what you're thinking. This doesn't look like it's going to end well. And you know what? You might be right. But I've been through a lot worse. Well, maybe not this bad, but still pretty bad. My name is Rake. As a baby, the Mechno Hive took me from my parents. I was raised in Power City by the cyborgs. They manipulated me into their own image, trained me as a weapon. They made me do terrible things. Eventually, I was ordered to gather organics to populate the Mechno Hive's labor camps. Everything changed when I watched a driver bot tear a baby from its mother's arms, and then turn its whip on her. Awakening a voice inside me I'd never heard before. That voice told me to defend them. All of them. In that moment, I broke every rule I was taught to obey. I knew the Hive would come after me, so I ran. They hunted me, but I made it out. It's been a crazy ride to get to this point. I've made great friends, I found my family, and most importantly, I've been called to my true purpose. If you told the old me that it would be my job to free the organics and save the planet, I would have laughed in your face and probably arrested you. But now I know, it has always been my fate.